working a night shift, so she wasn't available to come this morning. But you will probably get calls. Some of them I usually try to get them to talk with you all at this time of the year when they have budget questions. And I think what you need to think about is, as a board, how do we take those individual opportunities to talk about STEM or the arts or the various key points? We have so much going on in our schools. How do you boil it down into not 60 seconds, but do you know what the length of a soundbite is on television? Yeah, 10's a stretch. It's usually between 7 and 9 seconds. That's all the time you're going to have if you're doing a TV interview. In the newspaper, you may get a line or two, but you really kind of have to boil it down. So kind of the next step, and we won't have time to do it today, but I hope maybe as the board you'll do this or give some thought to it yourself. What can you say that kind of presents where we are in general, and then use this part 2 of that can be your own perhaps special project that you want to include, but what's the board's view of the budget universe, and how are you going to get that across? So just kind of using what you saw today, the beauty of this is that you got to see people addressing all the different topics, and no matter what question you had kind of a good feel of the random questions that may come at you. The sheet that I handed out will give you some other things. I would keep that handy for you. One of the things, there are a couple of things that aren't on that sheet that we need to address at some other time, which is things like the lottery funding question. Lottery funding, we've used this statistic in the past. The lottery money only helps about 4% of our state funding. It is lottery. Lottery, it sounds great, but I'm convinced they spend more money on every single commercial they do with those fancy schmancy commercials than they ever see come to us. I'm waiting for media someday to tackle that as an investigation. Because I mean, literally.
I discussed that, actually.
Have they? Well, they need to. Somebody needs to. I'd like to know how much one of those commercials costs, because I have some idea. I guarantee it's more than they send us. So anyway, but there's some other things that we need to get information for you for. But I've given you a couple of resources. I've given you the quick little some snapshots from what you looked at today. I gave you another document that is a resource that talks about where North Carolina stands. I've got a couple others I'm going to give you. This one is from one of the most esteemed communication people in the schools. This is a gentleman that talks at all the communication national conferences. It's about stop giving public education to business. A lot of times we talk about, is education, can it be looked at as a business? And I spent 25 years in the business world, and so I get why we want to do that. There are a lot of things that we want to do more like a business does, but there's also some really valid reasons why we can't, like the funding. If I'm a business, I can go out and generate funds. That's what I do as a business. I'm going to go out and make money, and then I can spend what I make. We're not in the money-making business. We have money coming to us. We're not, having that determination. So this is a really helpful way of looking at what we are like a business and areas that business people may not get where we aren't. So I'm going to give you this as a resource. I'll hand that out in a second. So again, just try to think big picture when you talk with the media. Try to think as a board when you talk to the media. If they're asking you not your own personal opinion, but when you're representing the board, try to think about some of these big picture things, which for me, again, is uncertainty. We just don't know at this point what's going to happen. We really don't. So I hope that's one of the things that you all will talk about. Miss Anna. Anna's going to talk for just a second about when you do run into those legislatures, or what opportunities might you have as a board to think about advocacy with other elected officials.
I don't like to stand between anyone and lunch. So here's what I'm going to, as we were talking, Jan and I were, I think you all, and I made some notes, it's engaging them. I mean, as part of my work is advocacy is some of the points you made. People don't have that information and know. And then as Amy did here in her first one, is telling them how. How can they get involved? How can they support you? Because as far as educators in the community, I'm interacting with educators, you're interacting with educators, and we run in different circles. And they want to know how we can stop those cuts and how they can help you. And I think one of the things is making sure while you're having that conversation is how can they join you and become part of your team to help you advocate. And you did that, many of you did by by saying contact your legislators. Sometimes people don't realize that just sharing their personal story, as Joe did as a classroom teacher, is influential. Not sending mass emails that are all cookie cutter saying stop the cuts, because legislators don't read those. And you all have such a wonderful working relationship here with your school board and your county commissioners. And as Bob, I'm sure you travel with your association as I travel with ours, that's not the case across the state. And so you already have that level above most, so we need to take that as you're running in your different circles and you're interacting with community people, different boards that you're on. They all have some tie to education. So bringing them on board to say, you know, here are our legislators, or here are these bills that we're concerned with, and making sure that they take an opportunity to personally share their story. And as I shared with Jan, as you all move through and you create an advocacy plan, please feel free to, you know, I'm at your meetings and I collect your information, because I take those opportunities in my role to advocate with our legislators in Northern Raleigh and sharing your message as well, and I will be happy to support that. But I cut mine short because I'm not standing.
Thank you.
And I guess one recommendation from all three of us would be that Adrian, when she does her communities and schools event, similar event, you were going to use, what, 90 minutes for the elevator speech. We really condensed all this into 45 minutes, and for a school system as massive as ours, I would hope that maybe you'll try to find some time to spend more time working on the advocacy plan that Anna talks about, and what is the board's position on things like the budget, and spending more time together to do that. So that's just a recommendation that we find that time.
All right.
Go.
Dr. Baldwin?
Before we break up, we just want to make sure the board's aware, we are moving into an action phase with our STEM high school. A lot of excitement around that. A reminder that next Monday, evening, beginning at 6:30, we are delving in an area we've never delved into before, which is a telephone town hall. And some of you as parents, in fact, I don't know the entire board, they receive calls.
You will on Monday night, everybody except Ann and somebody, everybody else did. Cat. Or the only three that didn't get the I had no way to add them. You'll be added on Monday night, so you'll get a call on Monday night.
So from 6:30 to 7:30, there will be group telephone contact, surveys, information provided. We were really excited about this. This will certainly be a venue that we may repeat in a number of different ways, but it would be a great example of how to access or how to use that particular vehicle. We also have taken a very large planning committee, and I want to recognize, Ms. Franklin stepped up, recognize Ms. Franklin and Baldwin, there she is, in the elevator still.
I'm enjoying this elevator.
Their service with our planning team. I've taken two distinct groups, one being student, teachers, and parents. We've separated that into an action team, action committee. We've also got a second that is in business representatives, college, university representatives, professional agencies, expanding those, both of those. Mr. Chair, I was sitting back there with Ms. Swanner thinking, I would like your help as a board-directed teams if you could either appoint or identify a couple of board members. Love to have one for each of those teams to work with them as we move into this next phase. If I could ask you to hopefully accomplish that.
Okay, do you need that answer today, or do you want it maybe at the next meeting? Or
I'd really like to have it, if possible, today, so I can coordinate them as in terms of
Thursday's agenda?
working with those communities.
Okay.
Mike says it's on for next
Oh, that's just directed as committees. This is just simply to ask for volunteers. Right. Chair can do that.
Okay. Amy, would you be interested in working on one of the committees?
I'd really want to be involved on the one that we're going to have with the community, the parents, and
universities,
Yeah,
business reps,
that would be,
professional agencies.
that would be more of my,
Partners.
Okay, partners. Right.
prior experience and context.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Lunch is out there. Connie, I think you told me, right, you're saying to invite everyone?
There's pizza and salad.
Right. This is an open invitation. Mr. Campbell, for everyone's time schedule. Chris is really sick. I did what any good principal would do, and I sent the student on home. So he is always working. Don't want to get us sick, maybe, but anyway. The other thing I do want to invite you as a board, and certainly public as well. Mr. Fearley worked with maintenance. They have actually constructed a model of, I think the term is dais. I believe it's your desk up here. And so Tim has that out in the hallway. If you want to get your lunch, eat it in the executive conference room, but come out and just see what that looks like. Maybe sit in the chair, Tim, just would look like your feedback. A reminder, as everyone knows, we don't need over 3 of you speaking at once, asking questions to Mr. Fairley. So check with Mr. Campbell.
And you guys, remember when you look at this thing, that it's going to be, the seats are going to be going up, okay, looking down at us. So look at it from that perspective and just kind of get your feedback.
Being our new mentor.
They'll be portable and movable.
Yes. Flexibility. No. Thank you for your participation.